Don't give me that look. That monstrous look, so oppressive and cold. Everyone kept telling me how toxic you were, but I didn't understand. How could you do all that, so blatantly, without my noticing? You thought that I was blind, deaf, and dumb, that my senses were as cut off as I was from others. And you were right. In living with you, so excited about a new beginning, I let my past fade away. But when you lose your past, you begin to forget who you are. My life became a blur. Reality seemed false and, amidst falsehoods, I let myself be swallowed up by your darkness. That's why it seems so natural to go from arguments to fights, from caresses to strokes, from living in a home to living in a cage. Until one day I understood. I understood that when you looked into my eyes, you were not seeing me, but yourself, with all your issues and insecurities, directly reflected on my pupils. That's when I knew that wasn't me. The worst thing about forgetting who you are is that only you can find yourself again. The path was not easy, but I was not alone. My family and friends, that past that I wanted to extinguish, they refused to stop guiding me through the darkness. Keeping them by my side, against all odds, gave me the courage to go on, to get out of your cage, to tell you all this. The courage to tell you, one last time, not to give me that look, that monstrous look, so oppressive and cold. Because I am not a broken glass for you to reflect your issues. Because my flame is back and it will not be extinguished again. But above all, and let me make this clear, because I no longer allow you to do so. You're crazy. It's up to you. Don't rush me. You're from the 19th century. Don't talk nonsense. Send me a picture. No one can bear you. You need someone to protect you. Why don't you wax? You have to earn everything. You don't have enough breasts. What's the deal? That you're a lesbian? No matter how loud you scream, no one will hear you. First, you have to try the product. Well, of course, you come with that cleavage. You're the nearest thing to a cloistered nun. If you can't trust me, you can't trust anyone. You have to be positive. After a good dose of verbal abuse, you can come here to watch us and cheer us up, but not to play. These things happen since you women got so modern. What you need is a good spanking to get that temper out of you. No. It's better if we don't have too many more girls coming. Otherwise, we'll get distracted. You are all 50 Shades of Grey fans. But in the end, you are all such prudes. You shouldn't go to the prom. You're just going to provoke, because you know that when guys drink. I'm not going to walk you home because nothing will happen to you. Nothing ever happens in this city. It's very safe. And besides, you should have left earlier. I told you. That's 25. 25 different ways to strike without throwing a punch. 25 ways to dominate and humiliate. 25 ways to interrogate, isolate, and harass. 25 bullets that pierce the ears and pierce the brain over and over again. Just 25 of an endless list that we will only be able to counter with the shield of respect and the arrows of education. Will you help me? Or do you prefer to hide in the forest of the deaf ears? Luckily, I have an anti-inflammatory and an anti-anxiety pill on hand, so I can get through the night without any discomfort, she thought, as that metallic taste spread through her numb mouth again. It was the same story, and her face was once again disfigured by the uncontrolled barbarity of the man who lived under the same roof, spreading pain and terror into the lives of that family. Her beaten soul brought back the phrase her friend had shared with her weeks before, echoing in her head unceasingly. If it hurts, it's not love. I remain silent because I live with a grenade without a security pin. He sees the fear in my eyes and hates my making him feel like a monster. It's not just the blows that hurt, but the shame is also painful. Sometimes I want to become tiny, like a flea, so I can climb onto the back of a dog that will carry me away. Other times I like to be a giant and feel his raids like a tickle. Testing the atmosphere, my trembling hands caress him while I speak to him softly. The sea roars and the waves crash against the rocks. He knows that I wear out and turn into sand, a moldable clay. I am part of the walls that imprison me. At first, I covered up the marks. Then, they became part of me, like someone wearing a new necklace. I learned the hard way not to defy the storm. In the fields, the cows are branded to show that they belong to the owner's herd. In life, a beaten woman is a woman with an owner. The walls of my prison widen, and my pain does not affect them. I move slowly, on tiptoe, as I live in a minefield. I cry silently and without tears.
Do not consent to it, do not tolerate it, do not be afraid, break the silence. In your mind there are only fears. Break free, have that privilege. With his head on the glass, his insults and contempt resounded. Think of it, it's not normal. Be brave, break the silence.
Child of my eyes, but not from my womb. Life is hard out there. I warned you in my thoughts. You'll have to carry the burden of being one of us. Strong, tolerant, silent, submissive. Child of my eyes, but not from my womb. As another girl, I vowed to protect you from all the hells I had known. The hate, the fear, the pain, the loneliness, all invading our bodies. I braid your hair and prepare you for the battle of life. Child of my eyes, but not from my womb. Hold my hand and let's walk together. We won't be prisoners of our doom. We'll be free. Free from ourselves. Free from our ghosts. We will all be free.
Where's my other half? You took it from me. Now I'm just a part of something I used to be, and you took it away from me. I can only feel that immense dark emptiness in which I'm slowly fading away. That wrenching gaze that has taken over my other half. That dead smile that begs to live in me forever. Where am I? I can't find myself. She was a strong young woman eager to show her life to the whole world. However, she was dragging the chains imposed by her beloved executioner, who held her back from any social relations. One day, she woke up and saw before her eyes the key that would unlock the padlock of her toxic relationship. She only needed to dial one telephone number, and a new life of freedom would open for her, free from the burdens that would keep her trapped with an oppressive partner for the rest of her life. She would never have thought that the right combination of 3 simple digits would give her freedom.
Arid, wilted, walking through a place where there should only be water, which has turned into a desert where every step takes you farther from the end. At first, following the patterns of any mirage, it was not like that. It was an oasis, it was light, it was life. It was intensity, strength, desire, dreams, and promises. When was the day when it broke and became tenuous? There was no return. The seed was sprouting day by day, discreetly, like the silent growth of daisies, imperceptible to the human eye. He managed to make us feel like the creators of a bond that never would have existed if we had seen the bigger picture. That reality that he had scripted for me, and that had eliminated every remnant of my own identity through reproaches, threats, and blows. That reality which had reduced me to the minimum expression of myself. The only memory of those days is the color black. You remember actions, faces, facts, but all bathed in a somber black tint. And then, light. She took my trembling hand and lifted me up. She helped me open my eyes, and I saw that I wasn't alone, that I had never been, and it didn't look like I would ever be. She reminded me who I was, and I understood that the wall he had tried to build around me had cracks, that there was a way out. And then, from the deserted remains of what I once was, I rose up again.
Silence at home. Suddenly, broken glass, fallen chairs, slamming doors. Fear rings in the room. One hit, another. Screams, tears, and pain. Help! Blood. Broken bones. Help! Terror again. Silence again. One more broken door. Don't let it happen to you, to your sister, to your mother, to your friend, to anyone. She didn't think herself capable of rising up again. She got used to a life of subjugation and content. She began to believe that what he used to tell her was true, and that her life depended on him, to the point that, if he was not by her side, she was incapable of doing anything. She didn't think herself capable of rising up again. The fear had become a routine, waiting for a new blow, a new act of content that, day by day, would bury her under an unbearable slap, where she would wither, defeated by resignation. She didn't think herself capable of rising up again, but she was able to get up nevertheless. Her soul would no longer be the prison in which she had been confined, embracing her silences as a last shelter in the gloom of despair. Her body would cease to be that battlefield on which she will always ended up being defeated by injustice and anger. Her hands would cease to be the flimsy shield incapable of resisting a new attack. She would start to paint on the canvas of her skin that withered wasteland sown with sterile scars, the hope that was beginning to light up her existence.
Months later, I still remember, shouting on voices, I don't feel right about myself. I still remember when he would come home and smile at me. I didn't understand why he did that. He would hit me. I would cry in the bathroom. It was the only thing I could do. Many sleepless nights. The abuse I felt prevented me from living. I couldn't take it anymore. I took courage. I managed to file a complaint. Days went by. I could not see that it would ever end. Blows and insults, slaps and falls. To this day, it still hurts. There are days when I break down and cry. I cry blood, the blood he took from me. Fight to keep going, to stop suffering. There is always light at the end of the road. Denounce him so he won't take your life. Do it for yourself and for every woman who has been abused. Denounce. Shortly after she started dating her partner, Mia put a lock in a street in Compostela. She had heard this would bring luck in love. Her boyfriend was Mr. Right. He had a stable job and his own apartment, and was so charming that he could have bamboozled even the most earnest soul. Everything was going fine until the day when, walking past the lock, she found it rusty and worn, despite the fact that she had put it barely 2 months earlier. Baffled as she was, Mia tried not to think much about it. But fate is not to be taken lightly. When she got home, he was there, waiting for her. He started to shout at her, and when she tried to leave, he grabbed the girl by her hair and dragged her along the floor. He locked her up in the living room and beat her and smashed her face. Then she remembered the rusty lock and thought that time shows what each of us is really made of. That false appearance of perfection was hiding a dark inclination to own a woman, to hold her prisoner with the lock she had put to make their relationship successful. The beating made Mia shake off the rust that prevented her from seeing her abuser, and she could finally break the lock that had turned her into a prisoner without her noticing.
Wisely look inside you. Once you do it, you will get to see how worthy you are. Must you not? Don't let yourself being abused in the name of love. As you are also worthy, fall in love with your own existence. Never forget that the real love begins inside yourself. Enough of taking the blame. Enough of accepting your content. Enough of disguising the pain. Enough of sleepless nights. Enough of skies without stars. Enough of us. Because you are no longer enough for me. You are not alone, my friend. We are thousands and thousands of women watching over you. With us, your voice will resound everywhere. Your scars will vanish from your skin. Yet, when those marks are not visible anymore and start hurting again, we will be there to soothe your wounds. Darkness will never overwhelm you, since light will always find its way in. You are not alone in this battle, my friend. We demand a world where all forms of violence against women are eradicated. We will go on fighting, raising our voices for you, for those yet to come, and for those who were taken from us.
The door that seals the escape is locked and bolted, making my home shadowy. A sword made of shadows and with a cutting edge disarms any possibility of refuge. Is gloom my fate? Rooftop aerials raise their eyes to the sky and shadow a scrap on the wall. Threads in the wind air the wounds and are remnants for a new coat. Now I know, my friend, that all is not lost. Take that skirt off. It's too short. Where do you think you are going like that? Don't hit me. If I hit you, it is so that you learn what is wrong. I do it for you to learn. Don't hit me. What a temper you have. Are you on your period? Don't hit me. Shut up. You look better when you are quiet. Just like this woman, many other women live in fear of facing this type of situations in their everyday lives. We can't just sit back and do nothing. We must do something to avoid that, and we all must fight violence against women. The stick looked up. Flower, have you defeated me? I've defeated myself, it smiled. You? Who are so fragile? It said in surprise. Mightily fragile, it tried to convince itself. But we are parasites. We need each other. Love doesn't mean need. I accept my faults, because they are me. Because ignoring reality means living in fiction. What are you going to do now? The stick asked, embarrassed. I'm going to think aloud, grow, dance with the dew. This is a constant weight that I carry with me at every moment. Don't let it affect you, I repeat to myself every single day. Move on, as if I wasn't hanging on by a dangling thread. I remain with my battle, loyal partner in life and at home. At a distance, she didn't need to wear her glasses, even though she was short-sighted. That distance was when she looked up and down at herself in the mirror so as to recognize her broken self. At that moment, the child and the adult in her were united through their gaze and whispered tender advice to each other. It's not your fault that you don't love yourself as much today, said the little girl that day. It is not your responsibility to change your husband. It is not your fault that you have planted seeds for trees that will never hold a bird's nest. You can leave whenever you want. He will not change that. The woman knew she was talking about the last few years with Jay. They had been months in which she felt that her spine had decomposed. Her organs, bones, and entrails lay on the floor, the result of abuse. But after those words, she was ready to set fire to that ideal of love that had turned its back on her. I have been hiding for years, mute, being unable to shout. But small screams like those of Frida Kahlo, Margaret Fuller, or Sojourner Truth have been impossible to contain. Every 25th of November, I recall the brutal beating I received in the Dominican Republic. That day I lost my vision, because my eyes, Patricia Minerva and Maria Teresa Mirabal, were murdered. Luckily, the other parts of my body resurrected and, instead of crying in silence, started looking for a change. A change that is possible thanks to a constant fight guided by powerful women. Since then, I have become the group of souls that fight for the same goal: recognition and equality. I am the wind that blows away meaningless dry leaves and brings new ones, full of hope and strength. Today I woke up alone in bed, with the sun rays seeping through the curtains, gently healing my skin. Today, there is nothing left of this war, only the silence and the fear of an unusual night. But not today. All the excuses and remorse that soften the heart are gone. These walls are no longer my prison, and I am no longer your salvation. He always made me believe in this love, a love of our own, but a love isolated from the rest of the world. I believed in him, I loved him. Now I feel alone, ashamed, full of fear, empty, without hope. I have no tears left, but I still cry inside. Sometimes I wish I could cease to exist so as to forget this pain. Because I don't know how to live like this anymore, with my soul stolen from me.
Lift your head and look at the sky. What do you see? Just tell me. Do not be afraid. Just tell me. Birds and clouds. Can you see? They are always with you. You are not alone. Raise your head, look at the sky. Now what do you see? Just tell me. Shout! Just tell me. Sun, can you see? It is always with you. You are not alone. Don't lose your light.